ABC News.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Logan Extermination. Since 1990, Angie's Restaurant at 690 North Main in Logan has offered a free Thanksgiving meal to help Cache Valley families. The meal was offered for those who may not have a place to go or who could not afford a traditional Thanksgiving meal. It also served as an opportunity for others to donate to local causes. But the restaurant announced this week that they are ending the annual tradition this year. The statement from Sabor Sahili, a restaurant owner and founder of Angie's, he said, since this tradition began, the population in Cache Valley has doubled. The popularity of the free Thanksgiving dinners has more than doubled, while the kitchen staff remains the same size. He said that their staff has worked 24 hours straight for several days in a row preparing for the free dinner, cooking and baking thousands of pounds of food, from pies to turkeys and stuffing. He says they have now reached logistical constraints where offering the free Thanksgiving dinner is no longer possible. Sahili says the restaurant's ability to provide a quality experience for its customers has grown beyond the resources of its 80-member staff. But he said this does not mean the restaurant is ending its tradition of helping others and donating to the community. They plan to donate funds and food and funds to the Cache Community Food Pantry. He said when the tradition started, the community did not have the same robust resources available today. He said the Cache Food Pantry was much smaller and did not expand to their current facility until 2012. He said this year and in the future, Angie's Restaurant will donate large sums of food to the Cache Food Pantry as a continuation of their giving efforts. The restaurant plans to work closely with Director of the Cache Community Food Pantry, Matt Whitaker, as his organization can help people's dietary needs on a larger scale. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly clear this evening, then becoming mostly cloudy, low 5 to 10 above, and then partly sunny tomorrow, upper 30s for the high. Partly cloudy, then clearing on Sunday, mid-30s. And right now it's 35 at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Turn life up. Schedule a free hearing evaluation with Dr. Paul Danes at Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Go to cachehearing.com.
Even though the weather's grown colder, you still have time to have your fruit trees pruned. Logan Extermination says your trees need to be trimmed back in order to achieve success next year. And this is the first step to a bountiful harvest. However, you could do more bad than good if you don't know what you're doing. Save the headache and call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Prices will vary depending on your needs. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. Mounting evidence indicates since early summer of this year, fast-spreading Omicron subvariants BQ1 and BQ1.1 have dominated in the United States and caused nearly a third of Utah's recent COVID-19 cases. Last week, Reuters reported that these two subvariants are among more than 200 sublineages of the original Omicron variant, which caused record levels of the disease in the U.S. last winter. Since the start of the pandemic, there have been 39,390 COVID hospitalizations in Utah. There have been 5,076 COVID deaths in Utah since the start of the pandemic. Among 261 deaths in the Bear River Health District since the start of the pandemic in March of 2020, 134 of them have been in Box Elder County, 124 in Cache County, and 3 in Rich County, including numbers from the last week. 56,692 total positive cases have been found in the district, 40,678 of them in Cache County. After seeing an uptick in issued warnings in recent years, Utah Division of Wildlife Resources conservation officers are reminding the public that Class 2 and 3 electronic bikes are now illegal off-road on all wildlife and waterfowl management areas in Utah. After being passed by the Utah Wildlife Board in August, the new e-bike rule officially went into effect November 7th. Class 2 and Class 3 e-bikes are now classified as motorized vehicles by rule. So motorized vehicle restrictions on wildlife or waterfowl management areas now apply to these classes of e-bikes as well. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
It's going on right now at the Riverwoods Conference Center. I'm talking about the Logan Holiday Gift Show presented by Coppins Hallmark this year. I'll tell you what, lots of vendors. Have you ever thought about getting those permanent holiday lights on your home? They go around your home. You don't see them unless they're on. They're kind of hidden. And you could light your house up. Well, for example, on this Veterans Day today, you could light your house up in red, white, and blue. Or after that, you can do some really cool Thanksgiving colors and patterns. And they've got preloaded ones, or you can custom make your own. It's got a timer, and it all runs from the comfort of an app on your phone. Blue Pine Custom Lighting is here to talk to you about getting that done. So come look for them. Advanced Spine is here. Come see Dr. Fulmer. Great guy. Coppins Hallmark, of course, the title sponsor of this event this year. Sugared by Celeste. Sounds good. Chloe's Wood Shop is here. Easy Peasy Polish, Norwex, J&J Adventures, to mention just a few of the great vendors. Bring your appetite, a few extra bucks. You can find a food area here. You can have something real simple like some kind of a sweet treat, or you could have something real good for lunch or dinner. Open till 7 o'clock tonight. The hours are 10 to 7 tomorrow. And Santa Claus will be here 2 to 6 today, and then 11 to 4 tomorrow at the Logan Holiday Gift Show from the Cache Valley Media Group and Coppins Hallmark Riverwoods Conference Center. It's going on right now.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. It is Friday, November 11th. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Andy Morgan joining us in hour 2 for the For the People movie show. And we have a lot of catching up to do again. But today's show should put us caught up on movies, finally. And we can start talking about what's coming for the holiday season. So that's coming up at 5 o'clock. Right now, here in the studio with us, we have a very special guest joining us to talk about something you may have heard that played out this week and played out smoothly without a flaw here in northern Utah at least. And as far as the state goes, only a couple of little hiccups here and there. But the election happened on Tuesday, and joining us here in the studio is Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield. And Jess, appreciate you taking some time for KVNU today. This has to be, I've actually been amazed. I've been following, we're still waiting to see who controls the House and the Senate. I'm a political junkie, so I've been following what's been going on in Arizona and Nevada. Yeah. And I have to say before we get started, I don't think anyone gives enough credit to election staff, to clerk's office staff, to state elections office staff. In other states, they have secretaries of state. We have a lieutenant governor, but when we see these ballot dumps come in these states, these battleground states where we're watching for results to see how things turned out nationwide, it just hit me. I'm seeing these data dumps, these vote count dumps every day at 5 o'clock out of Nevada, and it's 18,000 ballots, 22,000 ballots, and none of us sit and think some human being or a team of human beings had to count those. 22,000 ballots in a day, and that's not even including election night. So just a little moment there to say thank you to you and your staff, because it all happens in a way that we don't think about it. We don't think about how much work this is to carry out a free and fair election in a secure and orderly manner. But it's a huge workload, right?
Well, first off, thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming
I
in.
always appreciate it when you say very special guests. I'm like, oh, thank you. That's makes me feel good.
You're one of our favorite guests. Yeah.
But I'll pass on. Honestly, anyone who says good things about the office, I always try to pass that on to the staff because they work so hard.
It's astounding.
People have no idea the amount of work that goes into election. For instance, people probably didn't know that we had to start publicly noticing this election last November.
Oh, that's right.
So you
I'd forgotten about that.
You immediately, almost the week, like I think we have 2 weeks before. So we relax for about 2 weeks, my staff does, and then immediately starts to begin preparing for the next election. And that will happen again this time when we prepare for the municipal election. So I'll pass along to my staff your sentiments, and thank you to everyone who helped this year. It really was a smooth election, and turned out great. And I want to say, before we get into numbers and talking that, I was recused this year because I'm on the ballot.
That's right.
And so, and I had also had endorsed David Zook, and so just to make sure that there were no conflicts of interest at play, I never tabulated or counted a single ballot this election. My staff had taken care of it, but that was already planned months ago.
Sure.
When we had, when I was, obviously I'm on the ballot, and I said I don't want anybody to be able to say that there was any malfeasance or dig up crazy claims, and so
sure.
So I recused.
And that's typical, right, for county clerks statewide to kind of step out when they're on the ballot for re-election. But at the same time, you're an integral part of the game plan leading up to that tabulation, right? This takes a lot of planning.
People should come by. I mean, there's been so many articles written on it. I feel like people should know by now, but the reality is probably half the people don't. We built an entire ballot center.
Which is amazing, actually, that can even be done.
We did it in a few months. I think the time from start to prior to the election is less than 6 months. I think we did it in 4 or 5 months. I'd have to look at the time frame, but we inherited kind of the old search and rescue building, and immediately when we were able to get word that we could go into it, we just started fixing it up, and it's amazing. Honestly, it's amazing. Yeah. I'm grateful to everyone who had a part. The contractors who said that elections are worthwhile, and they put other projects. I shouldn't say who it is, because then people will say, "Well, who was the contractor that delayed my project to get to yours?" But they immediately put teams on our project and said, "We understand how important this is.
That's very cool.
We're going to help out the county to make sure that you have a smooth election in a federal year." It was. And anybody who wants a tour will give you a tour.
It was really, I haven't done this in a long time, because we've been voting by mail here in Utah for 12, 13 years, something like that. But I went down Tuesday night just to the election center at the Fair Park, and I mentioned this to you already. There was a huge line of people. I was amazed, actually, of how many people are still voting on election day, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. But what I noticed is the long lines, it never stopped moving. People were moving through there pretty quickly. And then I'd never seen this before, so I went, at 8 o'clock, and hopefully I didn't break a law doing this. I thought about it as I was pulling up. I'm like, is this illegal? But I had a good excuse. It was for the radio. But I went and I parked near, not right next to, but in the parking lot of a drop box, because I was curious. I thought, I've never seen what happens at 8 o'clock when the polls close. And man, they were there. That drop box was emptied. The ballots were securely placed in the transportation vehicle, and it was locked. Yeah. And that was, like, I looked at the clock. It was literally, it was like 8 o'clock and 15 seconds they were done. And that is, it seems like such a small thing, but that is a really integral part of keeping elections. There have to be rules, right?
Yeah, and so what you did is not illegal.
Okay.
Just first off.
I thought about it as I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm technically sitting here. I hope no one sees me and feels influenced, scared to vote because I'm lurking.
Jason Williams back there.
Intimidating voters.
No, that's not illegal at all. You can watch those. The ballot boxes, people don't understand that we have, I think, I'd have to look at the count. We increase it all the time.
Yeah.
We have somewhere around 18 boxes.
Which was nice.
And we're close to getting a ballot box in every single city. We should have that by next year.
Very cool.
But it takes 18 people times 2, because you have to have 2 people to lock every single ballot box. And so people are like, well, why... For instance, we had to lock one of the boxes, and then we couldn't gather the ballots until the next morning.
Oh, sure.
Because it was so full that probably 2 people couldn't just carry it in one bag, because we give them one bag. And so we locked that ballot box and then grabbed it the next morning. And, of course, you had people sending pictures and things like that. Oh, they allowed people to vote afterwards. No, we
just couldn't collect, and
we couldn't. But every box in the entire county has to be locked at 8 on the dot. And to those people who put in the time at 8 o'clock at night to go out into the county, volunteer, and lock the boxes, we're so grateful. And regarding the lines, we had a record number of, since we've gone into vote by mail, a record number of poll workers who signed up. We had a record number, I think, of people who were willing to volunteer to sign up, and the lines were smooth. We had 12 tables at our vote center running, and
that's amazing.
We can extrapolate based on data. We know that if you have 200 people go through early voting, which is what we had, based on what we've learned over the past years, we had 1,000 people go through early voting in 2020, and then we had 4,000 people go through voting on election day. And so we said, okay, so you times that number out, and you're going to get that number.
Makes sense.
So we had 200 people go through on early voting, and then we had 1,000 people go through on election day. The problem on election day was that almost half of them came in the last 2 hours.
That was an interesting part of this, because that seemed to be statewide. Just today I read a story about a certain ballot drop box in Salt Lake County that had been, the clerk's office had gone out and taken the ballots earlier in the afternoon, and sometime between that 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock poll close time, so many ballots were put in that ballot box that it couldn't accept more. They were poking out, and they were concerned about that, so they tucked those ballots in and locked it, and then had to set up another ballot box to offset that. And any guesses as to why the last minute?
We have no idea. You have like 4 weeks to vote. So
and it seemed to be in the last 2 or 3 hours everyone decided to.
The total turnout, if you look at from the moment that we released our first results until now, we had like a 35% turnout. I can't remember the first one. And now we have 60%, which means that 50% of the people waited until the very last moment to submit their ballot.
That was really intriguing to see. I was concerned. I was seeing some of these turnout numbers, and I'm thinking, oh, no. I expected the opposite with that Senate race. And then, it just seems like everybody waited till the last 2 hours to turn. And maybe everybody's working, maybe, I don't know.
And it was still low by standards.
Sure.
If you go back to 2018, you're seeing like it's typically 70 to 80% throughout the state. And this year, you're seeing like 50s, 60s. It's pretty low.
That's disappointing to see. And I really thought the United States Senate race would cause the opposite. But you brought some stats with you about Cache County specifically. This is your third election cycle?
Is my third. Well, it's my second election cycle, but it's my third election because we run municipals.
Oh, that's right. You did municipals as well. So this was, it was without a glitch. We didn't have. There was one, a pretty serious error in southern Utah that involved a printer. It wasn't the clerk's fault, but statewide, I mean, Utah, we've really got it down to a science, right?
Utah's different. Utah does vote by mail amazingly well. That rhymes, but
it's perfect.
I always say when people want to disparage vote by mail, what you have to do is examine the process underneath. You don't just say, this is bad, therefore that's bad. No, you have to examine the process that is built into the system and say, what makes ours different or worse or better? And what makes ours better is, number one, we have a legislature who has codified some amazing things. We have ballot tracking.
Yeah.
We have early voting. We have vote by mail. We have same-day voting or election day voting. And so any of those options are available to people should they want to use them. And then we also have been given money by the state to make it better. And that's been built up over the course of about 12 years, I think. And it's only getting better because we have the backing of the people. We have the backing of the state legislature.
Sure.
And our system has been 10 years, 12 years in the making. And other states don't have that. And so when people say, well, this state didn't do good on this, you say, yeah, well, we've had 12 years longer of experience than this state. And so we're doing pretty dang good. And every year, I feel like we get better exponentially because we don't just get a little better. We figure it out as a clerks group and we implement the changes. And we have, a few years ago, it was kind of a free-for-all, I would say, where everyone was trying to come up with the best and the brightest. And now it's little tweaks. And so once you have a ballot center in place like we do, now it's just little tweaks. Okay, we did this. Now let's make sure we have a place where the poll watchers check in. Let's make sure that we have this. Let's make sure we have the cameras that hit every angle. So everything's just a little tweak at this point.
It's very nice to see. And again, it falls back on I'm just blown away by this, the amount of people involved, and to have it go so well, especially. So you would expect something that happened once a month or every week to go this well. Everybody gets it down. But this is something that happens, every year with municipal races included. But really the big ones are every 2 years, and the big ones are every 4 years. And yet somehow we make it happen. And you've mentioned this before, but you have some really experienced staff, right?
Yeah. We have, so first off, I think it's kind of cool. We have, my chief of staff is Republican. My election specialist, who manages a lot of our systems, is Democrat. So I've tried to bring in diversity in that way to make. I don't care. When I'm hiring you, I want the best talent.
You want skilled people,
exactly.
Right?
That is what I'm looking for. And so we have a good, diverse group that are all working towards the common goal of just having a great election. And so I've put all my staff that are part of the elections through our Olene Walker training. We have one of the first in the entire state. I'll say his name, William Christ. He's now certified in Olene Walker elections training. And so... Wow. Yeah, and soon to be, I think everyone else, including myself, is one training behind, and we'll get that in January. And so I wanted to have one of the best trained staffs in the state, because without training, you don't know what you don't know. And then I wanted to have one of the most secure elections in the state, and I think we're definitely in the top 5. It's obviously tough to beat out those big players with deep pockets like Weber County, Davis County, Salt Lake County.
Salt Lake County's got a lot of money
exactly.
to pull this off every year.
Cache County kind of, we're so conservative, we operate on a shoestring budget compared to some of those. But I do have to say thank you to all those who have helped us with the budget over the past few years, because it's made a difference and it's made an impact.
And it's not done for your staff as well, right? The certification happens in 10 days roughly. And then it's officially over. So they're still hard at work, right? There's still a lot that goes on.
Yeah, they are, about this time of the election, they just are running up against burnout.
Oh, I can imagine.
They've worked, 16 hours on the election day, and then they turn around and they have to come back in the morning. 10 a.m. and start counting again and try to have the results in by 7 so that the LG's office can post them.
And ballots can arrive up until Saturday, right? Postmarked on Monday.
Yeah, they can continue to arrive as long as they're postmarked correctly on Monday. They can continue to arrive up until we.
Oh, that's right.
Until
certification.
Not until certification, but until audit.
Oh, that's right. Audit first, then official certification. Okay.
And so we have to, so we'll have a trickle. And by trickle, I mean we will have a trickle. We're at 94 or 95% completion. So anybody who wants to know what is the turnout, we are at 94% of counting, I think, is the last time I looked at it, of what we had, all the ballots cast. And
so any change is going to be tens of ballots, right, at most?
Yeah. You're not going to get a lot. Really, what you're waiting for is to see, well, do the military votes come in? And we only have a few of those. But here's one of the interesting things is the David Zook Mark Ensign race that everybody was pretty aware of.
Sure.
And that demonstrated by the statistics is that David Zook came out with 56.7 and 20,226 votes so far. And Mark Ensign came out with 15,030, or 42%, 42.15%. Every single vote. I don't think people realize this. Yes, we go through machines and they scan the ballots, but
sure.
Any mark that happens outside of that little dot or that little circle where you have to circle and then you're not supposed to write anything unless there's a write-in line. And so any ballot that has markings outside of the circle is going to be manually reviewed with human eyes.
Wow.
And so we've had to manually review nearly 15,000 ballots, over 15,000 ballots. And so we did that within 3 days. I think a tremendous amount of work. You've got poll watchers standing behind you, people from parties, are not parties, but people who are on the campaign just standing behind you,
representatives
waiting
of the
for you to
campaigns.
make a mistake.
Sure.
And that's really what they're there for. And so far...
And this entails actually looking, like we're not talking a quick glance, we're talking the person reviewing the ballot has to look to see voter intent.
Exactly.
Right?
So if somebody wrote like Mark Ensign with a K, it would have been counted. And again, I was recused from this. I want to make very clear that I didn't count or tabulate any of the results. I wasn't even at the center on election night to make sure that there was no confusion about that. But yeah, so if somebody put like Mickey Mouse, clearly, that's not intent.
They're just screwing around,
yeah,
right?
and we had a couple. I think we had like 400. We had 400 ballots that were not assigned because they vote for the prophet or they vote for like I say Mickey Mouse, or they vote for themselves a lot of times.
Sure. And you can't do a lot with that, right?
No, you can't. Or they vote for their wife, or they vote for their spouse, and that's just those are not counted in any way for the race. And so 15,000 manual reviews of the ballots. That's so time consuming.
Yeah.
Which means that we really had there not been that many. And it's good that democracy and the republic works in the way that it does. But had we not, we probably would have been done counting by the next morning.
That's
so.
This really speaks to the amount of work that goes in, and wow, 15,000 plus ballots that had to be manually reviewed just for accuracy. It's amazing that can be done in 3 days. It would take me. I would. Burnout wouldn't describe what I would be. And this also, so there's also a curing period, right, with ballots that were at the time rejected because a signature didn't match or there was some other thing. And you give voters a chance. You try to contact them if they've given an email address or a phone number and let them know, and then they can fix that.
Yeah, we have an option of text to cure. This is really cool. So in that ballot tracking was which I have to give a huge shout out to Representative Johnson.
Yeah,
he's the one who passed that and worked very hard at the state legislature to get that through.
And I didn't realize half of what it did when it passed.
Yeah, and
it does a lot.
It was set up so that it would notify people with the intent to notify people as well if there were any issues with their mail-in ballot. And so if you sent in a mail-in ballot and your signature's not correct or doesn't match what we have on file, you are notified through either text or email, and you can then go in and actually electronically say, this is my signature, and prove it that way, because we know what email you signed up with and phone number when you registered to vote. And if you gave us permission to contact you that way, then you can cure it now faster. It takes, a few minutes to cure your ballot or your signature, which then cures your ballot, and we count that faster than it took a week previously. So we've gotten that down from a week to 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
And so the process, like I say, light years ahead of many other states. This is cutting edge stuff, and I hope everybody in Utah is feeling like their vote was counted. Obviously, those who need to send in their signature, do so, because if you didn't sign up for it, then you'll get a paper copy, and sign up for it. That way you don't have to get the paper copy and wait a week. So.
It's a benefit to every voter because it's so fast, and you can get in and fix that so that your ballot counts. Mm-hmm. And I always thought that was very tragic when someone obviously has the intent to vote, but by law, the clerk's office can't call it an official ballot because the signature doesn't match. I worry about that because my signature, sometimes I look at it and think, what did I just sign there? It doesn't look like me. But it happens to all of us. And so that always made me feel bad to think of people who intended to vote, but their vote doesn't count because of a signature. Then they can go in and fix that, just re-sign and fix that and have the ballot count. And do you have any, I know, this is still early in the process, but do you have any, at least an idea of how many same-day registrations we saw in Cache Valley?
I haven't pulled the same-day registrations. I know how many voted on Election Day, and I know that we have, well, actually I do. We have, I think, 1,000 outstanding provisional ballots.
Oh, that's nice.
And so those are typically, a lot of the time, the same-day registrations are provisional ballots. Not always, but so that's... Yeah, so we have
Very
about
nice.
1,000 provisionals that we haven't got to those yet.
Sure,
but we will very soon.
And that has to go through the state state office first, right? Like the registration has to be
correct,
validated before the provisional ballot becomes a counted ballot.
Yeah,
right?
we have to make sure that the person is. That's the whole reason. Basically, for anybody who doesn't understand what a provisional ballot is, because that's not something everyone's studying in their off time.
Yeah,
a provisional ballot is just something that's provisional. Your vote will be counted provisional upon verification of registration.
I think that's one of the coolest things the state does, offering that as an option. And man, the time went by fast. Any last tidbits for voters out there that they might want to know before we wrap it up?
No, but I would say if you get time, my staff doesn't know I'm doing this, but please, if you get time, send a message to staff. You have no idea. We get so many emails and things where people are upset, rightfully so, because it's hot button issues that we're addressing or managing and overseeing a process of. But if you get time, please send a note to the elections office and just thank the staff. You don't have to thank me, but thank the staff for the great job that they're doing.
They deserve it. Again, just seeing, in other states, here in Utah, seeing the number of ballots that are coming in as they're tabulated over the days after Election Day, it really gives you a perspective of how hard they're working for this. Granted, it's a short period of time every year, but it takes a year of planning, and it's days and days of ballot tabulating and making sure every I is dotted, T's are crossed for security and things like that. It's an amazing process. And one last thing for you as well, hats off to making this something a little easier for people to get in and watch with some extra space where people can go in and actually watch the process if they sign up. If you want to do that, by the way, you can prep for doing that for the municipal races or the upcoming presidential race via the clerk's website. There's actually a sign up there if you'd like to get in and see how all this works in the next cycle. Our guest again has been Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield. And Jess, thank you for taking some time for us today.
Thank you, Jason.
Always a pleasure to have you in. And listeners, pleasure to have you tuning in. Please stay tuned. We'll be back right after the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:39, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. Police responded to a fatal shooting at a Mill Creek gas station last night. The shooting happened at a 7-Eleven located near the city's border with Murray. According to a statement from the Unified Police Department, the shooting happened sometime before 2 a.m. The identities of the suspects or victims were not released, and a police statement did not reveal any details about the incident or what may have led to the shooting. It's also not known how many people were involved, if there was more than one victim, if anyone was injured, or if there is a suspect in custody. A judge in Scotland says a man who has spent almost a year fighting extradition to the United States is Nicholas Rossi, a fugitive alleged to have faked his own death to escape rape allegations. The suspect was arrested in December 2021 at a Glasgow hospital where he was being treated for COVID-19. He denies being Rossi and says he is an Irish orphan named Arthur Knight. After seeing evidence, including fingerprints and tattoos, Judge Norman McFadden told Edinburgh Sheriff Court on Friday he was satisfied that Mr. Knight is indeed Nicholas Rossi. U.S. authorities say Rossi has been charged in connection with a 2008 rape in Utah. A full extradition hearing is likely to be held next year. And the Mountain West Conference hired Gloria Navarez, who has been leading the West Coast Conference for the last 5 years, to be its next commissioner. Navarez replaces longtime Commissioner Craig Thompson, who announced his retirement in September. She will take over January 1st. Navarez has led the West Coast Conference, home to Gonzaga and one of the top mid-major basketball leagues, since 2018. During her tenure, the conference expanded its national television contracts and implemented the Russell Rule to promote diversity hiring in leadership positions. The native of Santa Clara, California, and former Massachusetts basketball player began her career in college sports administration at Mountain West School, San Jose State. KBNU News Time is 4:42.
You'll love the holiday specials and big selection when you shop at U&I Furniture. Got guests coming? How about their best-selling mattress, a Therapeutic Serene featuring a zone coil system, comfy stretch knit top, only $399 for the queen size. For Christmas, a TV? How about 50 different console choices from small to large, with or without fireplaces? And over 200 chairs on display, including the best in recliners. They offer free layaway and prices you'll love. A local standard when it comes to furniture. There's always a better buy at U&I Furniture. U&I downtown Logan.
KBNU weather for tonight, mostly clear this evening and then mostly cloudy skies. Overnight low between 5 and 10 above. Partly sunny, upper 30s tomorrow. Partly cloudy Sunday morning, then clearing. High temperature in the mid-30s. It's been to 33. It's 32 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Whole Tree Care. Call now to trim your overgrown trees. Call 435-760-6587. Ask about the radio discount at Whole Tree Care. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's get the report from Wall Street, brought to you by Edward Jones.
From ABC News, Wall Street Now. During an all-hands meeting, Elon Musk telling Twitter employees that continued losses are not feasible. In audio obtained by ABC News by a lawyer representing former Twitter employees in a lawsuit against the company, Musk telling employees that the company needs to bring in more cash than it spends, and if it doesn't, then bankruptcy is not out of the question. Musk not saying that bankruptcy is imminent, but could be an option down the line. Consumer sentiment for November lower than expected. The possibility of recession, inflation, and higher interest rates combining to push the University of Michigan survey down 8.7% from last month. Billions of dollars gone. The cryptocurrency exchange FTX had been valued at $32 billion. A week ago, it was one of the more respected exchanges. Now FTX filing for bankruptcy. The CEO has left. Turns out the exchange lent out half of investors' money to a troubled trading firm. A run on FTX followed, investors unable to get their money back. Dave Packer, ABC News.
This is Scott Howder. At Allen Mortuaries, we're mindful of the challenges and changes families who have lost loved ones experience during the holidays. We're also aware of the love, hope, and generosity of others. You are in our thoughts and prayers this holiday season, and we're also available to provide a measure of support whenever needed. We're always here to help. It's what we've been doing for over 80 years. Sincerely wishing you happy holidays from all of us at Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
It's true. Many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, Edward Jones agrees, and they can help. Together, they'll give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Stop by your local Edward Jones office, one of 7 locations in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
It's USU hockey game time at the Eccles Ice Center. Metro invades Aggie home ice. Make sure they know this is the Aggies' house. Be rocking by 7 p.m. sharp. And make sure to wear your pink in the rink. Avoid the lines. Get your tickets early at usu.edu/hockey. That's usu.edu/hockey. And day of at the Eccles Ice Center. USU hockey takes on Metro tonight at 7 p.m. Don't forget, it's Pink on Rink Night. Do you have your tickets?
This is Zach with HSA Depot. Christmas is nearly here. Make sure you be merry and bright by using your pre-tax funds on your medical needs. We know your regular holiday budget is disappearing quick, so instead, save money by using your pre-tax income to buy qualifying medical supplies. HSA Depot carries hundreds of unique and dashing eligible products to help you conquer your healthcare. Come to HSA Depot next to Sally Beauty Supply and see how much you can save this holiday season. HSA Depot, 5-star review.
Is it just me, or does life seem to slow down this time of year? The kids are back in school, the days are shorter, everyone is on more of a routine. I love it because I get to spend more time with Mom. You see, we moved Mom to Legacy House of Logan a while back, and it's been the best thing for her and us. The meals are wonderful. The activities are so good for Mom. She's made so many friends. The attention they give Mom is more than I could ask for. Thank you, Legacy House.
Legacy House of Logan provides 24-hour care to help your loved one with daily activities on 1400 North in Logan.
Come celebrate a white Christmas with Anderson's Seed and Garden. They are potentially giving away $40,000 in merchandise to the first 50 people who spend $500 or more on holiday and Christmas decor between now and November 24th. If it snows at least 4 inches on Christmas Day and you made a qualifying purchase, your purchase is free. But you only have until November 24th to qualify. Only at Anderson's Seed and Garden. Logan, see store for official rules.
Jessup Insurance invites you to attend a friendly, no-cost educational Medicare meeting Wednesday, November 16th. Jessup Insurance will answer questions and simplify the entire Medicare process, all while enjoying a yummy dessert. Wednesday, 7 p.m., November 16th at Jessup Insurance. Call 213-3200 for more information or stop at 530 West, 465 North in Providence. Wednesday, November 16th.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Welcome back to KBN News for the People. It is a pleasure to have Jess Bradfield join us. Any county clerk that you have a chance to talk to, take the opportunity, because it's honestly, I hesitate to say it this way these days because it makes it sound like a fragile and about to fall apart process, and it is anything but that. And Utah has proven that over the years. But it's honestly amazing that it works as well as it does because there are so many moving pieces to an election. So for those who'd like to know more or would like to see, the state has even some video about how this is done. Utah has an amazing track record. Utah has, the times when fraud has happened. Well, two things. When there has been fraud, it's been caught, which says the system works. And the second thing is we're talking, a handful over a decade. It's a robust system. And what I don't get, honestly, this blows me away, is that you watch, these other states trying to figure it out. Utah's sitting right here. I always I wish there was someone I could call. Maybe I could call the Secretary of State in Nevada after the election, of course. They're a little busy right now, but I always want to call them and say, why are you trying to reinvent this wheel? It's that Utah's figured it out. Just do what Utah's doing. But, every state wants to reinvent the wheel, I guess. But yeah, it's really amazing, and hats off to the election staff. And it's unfortunate that they're under so much pressure from people who, I'll be honest with you, there are these two famous people here in Utah, two famous women, two red pills they're called, and they have claimed for 2 years now to have all this evidence of fraud here in Utah and all of this evidence of faults in the system. And the problem is, and I hope people connect these dots, because we all have a responsibility to be not just civically literate, but news literate as well. Every time these two red pills have had an opportunity to show their evidence, they haven't. They've gotten suspiciously silent. So it's obviously they're just enjoying the spotlight, and they're enjoying their 15 minutes of fame. And the unfortunate part of that is they undermine faith in the system. And so then you have added pressures for clerks' offices and clerk staff. And the fact of the matter is, Utah has a stellar track record as a state. So much so, again, that I wish every state was copying what we're doing as far as elections go, and it boggles me that they aren't. Hopefully they just start doing that. But check it out. There's some statewide data you can look at. It's really interesting to see the trends. And again, one of the weird things this year, well, I shouldn't say weird, because I don't know that there's anything that odd about it. It's just something that hasn't happened very recently in my memory or in the records of elections for the last 10 years. But again, this year, for some reason, more people than is typical waited until the last couple of hours. Not just waited until Election Day. That's a big thing here in Utah compared to other states, even other states that do vote by mail. But I'm a forgetful and lazy person, so my attitude is the easiest way to do this is, and I'm also in a position where I've usually met and even had a chance to interview the candidates before my ballot even shows up. So, and I recognize most people with real jobs and lives that aren't political junkies maybe need to spend some time on a weekend reviewing candidates before they fill it out. But for me, the easiest thing to do is fill it out the minute I get it and drop it right back in a Dropbox, because otherwise I will forget. I get why people wait until the last few days. I do that with almost everything, from my property taxes to my car insurance due date. So I get that. I'm not judging, but it really, I'm curious if we will hear, some theoretical reasons from some of the political scientists at USU, or even our friend Adam Brown at BYU, on why this year more people than is typical in an election year waited until the last few hours, not just the last few days, but the last few hours. From Cache County to Salt Lake County, they were slammed with registered Utah voters turning their ballots in at drop boxes, in person at the vote centers or clerk's offices. It was statewide, just slammed in the last few hours. And there has to be a reason. Sometimes it's weather, but we didn't have bad weather. Anyway, we'll see. I'm sure we'll find out or have a good idea when all is said and done. But big thumbs up again to Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield and his staff, of course, for the work they do. Because, again, I think few of us really recognize how much goes into this to make it happen so flawlessly. And it is a lot. And they're still working hard right now because they still, have the audit and the certification coming up in about 10 days. And reviewing ballots that are need to be cured where signatures didn't match. And they're trying to reach those voters to say, hey, we can't count this unless you come in and verify your identity and your signature. That'll go on for days. And so, still a lot of hard work being done there, even though Election Day has come and gone. We'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Always a great time. We always look forward to the Logan Holiday Gift Show, and it's happening right now till 7 o'clock tonight at the Riverwoods Conference Center. on South Main in Logan. Come around to the east side of the building. You can park in the big covered parking area on the east side and just walk across and come on in. Nice and warm inside, all the sights and sounds and smells and great shopping opportunities for you. You can get some great ideas even, or you could get a lot of your shopping done. You can get something for grandma and grandpa and mom and dad and all the kids and even your pets and co-workers and fun stuff for neighbors. You'll find it all right here. Cold Stone Creamery and Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory is here. Howard Cutting Boards, Get Charmed, Practical Apothecary, Pro Style Paris, Tradeworks, Grumpy's Jewelry, Mitchell Custom Crafts, Liesel Cannon Art, Colored Stitches, Hobbies at Home, Stay Glassy, Utah, Chestnut Customs, to mention just a few of the vendors here at the Logan Holiday Gift Show. Till 7 o'clock tonight, and I'm just barely scratching the surface as far as all who is here. You'll find great gift ideas and be able, like I said, do a lot of your Christmas shopping right now and get a lot of it knocked out this weekend, if not all of it, and be able to sit back and enjoy the holidays. So plan on attending and do not miss the Logan Holiday Gift Show presented by Coppins Hallmark this weekend at the Riverwoods Conference Center till 7 o'clock tonight.
Dr. Josh Red, chiropractic physician, explains how Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
If you have low thyroid and you're taking thyroid medication, the biggest question you should ask yourself is what's causing my low thyroid specifically? If you don't know the answer to that question, it's important to call us. At Red River, we identify triggers that will cause the low thyroid to begin with. One of the most common causes of low thyroid is a disease called Hashimoto's disease. This is an autoimmune disease that is a lot more complicated than just a primary thyroid issue. This is why people will be on thyroid hormone but still feel little to no improvement because nothing's being done to address the bigger, more complicated problem, which is Hashimoto's. If you have low thyroid or you have an autoimmune disease and you're on medication and still don't feel well, call Red River.
Schedule your appointment today at 855-55-RIVER. Red River Health and Wellness with offices in Logan, South Jordan, Springville, and St. George.
Call Red River today.
Hi, this is Bob Larson with LSS Insurance. Exciting news. Humana is now offering Medicare Advantage plans in our area for 2023. Come see us to learn more or go to our website lssins.com for a meeting schedule. Get the most out of Medicare. The seminar is free. Call 752-9493 for details. For accommodations of persons with special needs at meetings, call 752-9493. That's 752-9493.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Thanks again to Jess Bradfield for stopping by. Speaking of elections, Senator Mitt Romney in the news today with some pulling no punches. So this is coming. Maybe we'll find this is happening in Cache County as well, but I hope not. But some counties, Utah County specifically, but there's another, are seeing these claims of election fraud that people wanting to, which ironically would break the law, people wanting to go in and even elected officials wanting to go in and personally review ballots. Which some elected officials in certain cases, like our county council, during the certification and audit process, as there usually be like an election board of some kind, and oftentimes elected officials are members of that, and then by law they actually should go in and review ballots, and obviously they can't review every ballot, but review a significant quantity before certification. But for them to just go in right now and sit there and pick through ballots would actually be against the law. And unfortunately, there are some elected officials here in Utah already wanting to do this because of the big lie and this almost trendy thing these days to say the elections were stolen, which if you're in Utah, stolen for who? The Republicans won again like they always do. Everything turned out basically the way you'd expect. other than maybe one or two close races in Salt Lake County, which is also pretty typical. So the whole thing is just kind of weird to watch out. Well, Senator Mitt Romney apparently agrees with me. And in a statement today, in response to some of these claims here in Utah going around, Senator Romney condemned what he said were baseless claims of election fraud nationwide and in Utah. And he called them, this is a quote, stupidly self-defeating and despicable. Strong words for Mitt, to say the least. The movie show.